Okay, I'm out here in the back section of the property, and right now I'm just past the 1 year mark of when we planted this entire property last year, the entire plantation. And we actually finished at the beginning of March 2020 and hopped on a flight back to the US shortly afterwards on March 9th. And from there, the world went crazy, but since then we've actually managed to get back down here, and we're starting to establish ourselves, and so is this beautiful food forest here. We planted 10 hectares of food forest here in the high jungle region of northern Peru, and you can see we've got an ice cream bean tree right here that we planted at the beginning of last year, and it's already fruiting. I mean, it's already flowering, so not quite fruiting yet, but it will be shortly. So I just want to take a little tour and show y'all the trees and an update. We've got there's a nice mango tree, good specimen here. Almost as tall as me. Almost as tall as me. I'm 1.8 meters or 6 feet tall. So this is at least 5 feet now at this point. So very impressive. Not all the trees grew as well. You know, right plant, right place. Some of them are still pretty small. This is another ice cream bean. Not doing quite as well as the other one I just showed. And those fern-like leaves there, those are the Syzygium amazonicum trees. And those have the potential to grow over 10 feet a year. This is a Pigeon Pea Shrub. We planted all of that by seed throughout here. We planted these Castor Bean trees by seed. And this is what's called a Pomarrosa, which is a member of the rose apple family. It's got a delicious, refreshing red fruit. Lots of ice cream beans. We planted about 2,000 ice cream bean species. And I should say 2 species, 1,000 specimens of one species and 1,000 specimens of another. This is another mango tree, and there's a little bird's nest here making itself a home. So we've already started providing habitat for the native birds in the area, whereas before it was just this pasture grass for cattle. And you can see those are some of the Syzygium trees. They're already taking off quite a bit. We've got a little coconut hidden down here. Needs a little bit of attention. Still a little bit healthy, but you can see the growth rate is not that good on those coconuts. Some coconuts, though, are doing okay. Right plant, right place, but also, unfortunately, wrong plant, wrong place sometimes. And one of the biggest challenges we have here is the acidity of the soil. We did a soil analysis, and it indicated that we're about 4.8 to 4.9 on average through most of the soil samples that we took. So it's really not ideal. And some of the plants would definitely like something to be a little bit more basic than that. Here's an erythrina. We actually just replaced one of the trees that died here. We had about 10% death over the course of the past year since we started the plantation. So we came through and just tried to replace what we lost with easy things locally available that we know produce well here in the region. One of them being this erythrina species, which you can just grow as a living fence. You take cuttings, stick them in the ground, they regrow. Perfect animal fodder for sheep, for rabbits, whatever you want. Here they use it a lot for guinea pigs. And you can see there's a castor bean just on the top of this ridge that we planted from seed over a year ago. It's already about 12 feet, 15 feet tall. We got more Syzygium right there. Another pigeon pea shrub. Got a little mango here getting choked out by some weeds. Gonna have to come through here again, do a little bit better job on the maintenance. Actually, this weed right here kind of smells like lemon balm, but we didn't plant any lemon balm. Have to get somebody out here that knows more about the local plants. This got a nice smell to it. I'm gonna save some of that. We got another ice cream bean. So we planted 2,000 ice cream bean trees, 3,000 of the Syzygiums, and 1,000 coconuts. There's actually a nice coconut right there developing pretty well. So 1,000 coconuts, 1,000 mangoes, and 1,000 avocados. 1,000. Here's a little native plant. I'm still trying to learn what everything is myself. Don't really recognize this one offhand. I'll have to go check out our own plant catalog to confirm what that one is. The one down there with the wide leaves with the red leaf at the top, that one's called Uvilla, which has a fruit that's very similar to grapes. It's a refreshing fruit, very delicious. And you can see there's another plant there with some heart-shaped leaves. Very fat, very thick leaves. Look at that. That's a pretty plant. Wonder what that one is. I actually know what this one is. Look at that. Look at that. It's bigger than my head. Bigger than my head. That's called the Mahambo, which is the sister plant of the chocolate tree. So they actually use the fruit from this. You can use it, the pulp, as a refreshing fruit, juicy fruit. Or what you do is you harvest and roast the seeds, and it kind of has a pumpkin seed, like a roasted pumpkin seed flavor. And they actually use that seed as the base for what they put in white chocolate. So if you want white chocolate, you gotta plant your Mahambo first. So moving on, let's see what we got. I'm just coming up on the ridge here. We've got a huge cluster of pigeon peas, and look at how tall these are getting. 1 year. I mean, that's 1 year of growth. Well over 3 meters tall already. Very nice. I mean, you just can't beat the growth. This is called Palillo. It's another native fruit tree. I don't really know much about it, but I guess I will when it starts fruiting. And there's a view of just the back slope of the property. You can see the adjacent cattle pasture there of the neighbors. That's basically what this property here looked like when we started. So 1 year later, we got a little food forest underway. And I gotta be careful where I step, because as I was saying, sometimes it's not always right plant, right place. How about this ice cream bean tree? Why is this so small? I don't know. Hopefully it can pick up the pace soon. That's one of the palm trees that we already had here. There's actually an avocado tree right down there, which looks really beautiful right now. Look at that red new growth at the top. So that looks like it's already at least 2 meters tall. I only wish all the plants here, all the fruit trees, were that successful. See, some of them are still pretty small. But coming from California, being a California boy, I can't really complain about the growth rate. I mean, we don't have any irrigation out here. All we do is come through here and weed whack the grass every once in a while. You know, we gave him a good dosage of organic fertilizer at the beginning when we started this whole project. When we started this whole project, we gave them bokashi, we gave them rock dust and compost. So everything's been well fertilized right from the start. And yeah, it looks like everything's starting to take off too. So we're getting pretty good growth. What I want to do eventually is cut back on my fossil fuel dependence from the weed whackers and just the dependence on labor and machinery. And I'd like to run through here and put some electric fence, run some cattle, because this is really good pasture grass for cattle. And we've just been cutting it now for the past year and feeding the soil, feeding the soil, feeding the soil. So this is really healthy stuff here for animals now. Problem is, not every animal is going to eat this species of grass. Now, for instance, this is known as what's called Brisanta. And Brisanta grass is a Brachyardia species, and it's actually toxic to sheep. They will eat it, but it's not the best thing for them, and if they eat too much, they actually can die possibly. So for our situation, we might want to supplement the cows with a little bit of sheep, because there's some herbs here that, you know, kind of complement the diet of what cows eat. The cows might not be able to take care of everything here, but the sheep will eat, you know, some of what's left over. And then we might just come through with machetes by hand. Whatever they don't touch, whatever's poisonous, we'll chop and drop that. Maybe throw it under this ice cream bean tree here. Or how about this cherimoya tree here? This would love a little bit of chop and drop. Look at how solid this is. This is growing great. I'm happy about that. That is good growth for a cherimoya in 1 year. I like that. There's another Uvilla right over there. So I'm just taking a little tour. I haven't even been over this section of the property myself in a long time. So I'm just trying to see what there is. Nice little mango tree there developing. This is an aguaje. Usually wants to be in a little bit more of a deep water situation. Not too deep, you know, about 1 foot deep, 6 inches deep maybe. It likes that kind of area. So here we are on a hillside. It's not doing as well. I'm guessing that's the problem. I'm really no expert when it comes to all these trees, but I do know a thing or two. Another mango. Look at that new growth. See, we're coming right into the heart of the rainy season here. I just would say we're kind of on the tail end of it. March is the rainiest month, and we're right here in the middle of March. So once March is over, we still get a lot of rain in April, and then May it starts to taper off, and then June to September here is the dry season. Now the dry season here is really not that much of a dry season. You still get rain, you know, once every 2 weeks, maybe at the worst once a month. Nice little coconut here. Got a beautiful Syzygium. Look at how tall this thing is. Look at that. The first branch is already at pretty much the height of my head. So those are our support species. We got 3,000 of those that we planted and 2,000 ice cream beans. So that's 5,000 support trees. And the other 5,000 to 6,000 trees, those are all fruit trees. So the idea here is just to come through, let these big support trees grow up, do the best that they can, and then we're gonna come through when they start crowding each other, and we're gonna cut things back and chop and drop. See, there's other parts of the property though, like this, where, you know, the trees just aren't growing as well. Slight variations, I guess, between the soil from one part of the property to the next. But this mango found a good spot. See how big this mango tree is compared to me. I'm gonna get right next to it. So, yeah, 1.5 meters, doing pretty good for 1 year. 1 year birthday for all these trees. Of course, they are a little bit older. They were in the nursery for a few months before we planted them, but we did plant them pretty small. So 6 inches to a foot tall, most of them when we planted them. So here's another little vantage point from the back of the property. And you see we got the neighbors all around us on the other hills. Not doing much to reforest the area, but you can't blame them. I mean, this was a pretty big investment. We spent a lot of our life savings to be able to do this project. And so here we are here, and we've got just a nice mixture of different tropical species here reforesting this entire hillside. And yeah, that's our long-term goal, is to try and achieve a forest like that one. We decided we needed to preserve the little bit of forest and habitat that we have. We got monkeys and armadillos and agoutis and all sorts of different rare jungle animals just living in a small little piece of forest like that. So we're gonna have lots more habitat for those animals here in the future. We're just out here, we're creating habitat. We're creating habitat for ourselves, being able to feed ourselves, provide some food security for the local community here as well. And yeah, we're gonna be dealing with lots of pest problems in the forms of monkeys and things like that. But that's all par for the course. Look at this. Look at this Syzygium. This thing's at least 4 meters already. Looks like a 5 meter tall tree. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Look at that. So we got a pigeon pea, already got some fruit on it right there. Here's another little vantage point of this back section of the property. We have some pretty tenacious grasses, very tenacious tropical grasses growing here. And it's very hard to outcompete them. But I think at this point, most of the trees are pretty much to the point where even if we just let the grass grow, they would still win. So I think we're doing good. Yeah, so if you like what we're doing, you know, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. AgroVentures Peru. And stay tuned for more, you know. I'll try and document the developments at all sorts of different intervals over time. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions about what we've planted here. I'd like to, you know, answer questions from the community. And if you want to get involved, if you want to come down here, Peru actually just allowed tourists to come down here without having to quarantine anymore. So that's a big plus. And we're building a little tourist bungalow right there off the grid. So if people want to come and check that out, they can rent that bungalow. That'll be available soon. So we'll put that up on our website soon. But yeah, thank you for your time, and thank you for your interest in this permaculture project here in the high jungle of northern Peru. All right, bye.